Man. Who is he? Where is he? Why is he here? Isolated in space in a round mass of matter live some several billion intelligent beings. Man. But what is his origin? Some say he evolved from the slime of the sea. Others that a god created an Adam and Eve and he was their descendant. Yet another speculates that he was brought here sometime in the distant past when the Earth was colonized by men from another dying planet. Despite the theories and speculations, the answer remains an unsolved mystery. We now have a new challenge, perhaps the most monumental in recorded history. The opportunity to investigate a phenomenon that could change our destiny. Through the study and understanding of the UFO phenomena, we may discover a new energy force, or how to use it. Or it could lead to an understanding of our relationship to life throughout the universe. And if there are beings from distant advanced societies, we may be privileged to see a revelation, a look at ourselves 1,000 years in the future. And perhaps at this very moment, located in another galaxy, somewhere in infinite space, other beings raise similar questions and discuss the possibilities of life outside their planet, and talk about Earth as part of their plans for the near future.
Ramen Manuel. Chicago Mayor Ramen Manuel may be a shapeshifter reptile. I'll let you decide. In September 2012, during a press conference, viewers noticed that his eyes seemed to transform into, well, I'm not quite sure I know how to describe this because it's terrifying. Around his eyes, we see darkness of some sort, and suddenly his actual eyes become enlarged. Honestly, whatever happened wasn't human. Did he reveal himself as a shapeshifter reptile? I'm thinking yes. If you're enjoying this video so far, smash that like button as it'll really help us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Timothy Geithner. Former secretary to the treasurer, Timothy Geithner, has been accused of being a shapeshifter. Why? Well, because there's some weird footage of him possibly doing just that. Footage was taken of him at a press conference sitting and listening to the speaker when all of a sudden something starts happening to his right eye. A weird pattern that honestly looks like a pattern that you would see on a butterfly wing starts to form around his eye, sort of cupping it. It seems that it happens for a few seconds before he realizes it and tries to cover it up by touching the area, and in an instant, it's gone. No one can deny that the footage is rather odd, especially as he touches the area and poof, it's magically gone. It is super possible that we have a butterfly shapeshifter on our hands. Imagine. If I could be a shapeshifter, that's what I would want to be. Something with wings. Probably a fairy. That would be great. In our number 8 spot, we have US General David Petraeus. On June 15, 2010, the US General David Petraeus appeared to faint during a conference, but at one point though, his face appeared to be, well, not human. The footage of this one does appear to be a tad blurry, but it does seem like something has happened to his face. His face looks like it's, deformed, and the person that was looking at him and talking before he fainted did look a tad scared, but it could have been because he could see something was wrong. So there's that. But also, at one point, somebody stood up and conveniently blocked the camera from seeing him, so that's sus. But honestly, the footage for this one is too blurry for me to say, yeah, prob's a reptile. But the people that filmed it and shared it definitely said that they saw something that day and it did not look human. In our number 7 spot, we have Lady Gaga. Okay, Lady Gaga is an interesting one because there is a video that seemingly shows something going on with her eyes, but also she literally said on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert that she, quote, has always liked to shapeshift. Very sus, Gaga. The viewers of the show thought that it was a very interesting choice of words, and so many thought that there was a bit of truth to what she said, as if the energy around the word held more weight. I don't know. Certainly there are so many people that believe that Lady Gaga has had contact with the devil, and so it would make sense if she was a shapeshifter. Remember that time she suspended something in the air with her magical force field? Okay, but for real, is she a magical devil-like being or a shapeshifter? Would love to know your vote in the comment section below. In our number 6 spot, we have Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, actress turned literal princess when she married Prince Harry, has had quite some speculation around her over being a robot. Now, I've heard many things, including reptilian, and some people believe something has just, replaced her. But the robot shapeshifter is an interesting theory. It started when a clip went viral over Harry and Meghan wearing masks to promote Madame Tussauds new Harry and Meghan edition. But what made everyone feel the creeps is not just the fact that their facial expressions are unsettling, but also because Meghan is not blinking. Terrifying. Whereas Harry apparently was. Anyways, I think that this got everyone to start theorizing that even though this is a mask, she may actually be a shapeshifter robot, and you know what? I don't blame them. We're probs living in iRobot and don't even know it. In our number 5 spot, we have President Bush. Now, this is a clip of Papa Bush, the 41st president of the US, speaking in an interview, and his eyes seem to change. For those of you who don't live in North America, there is a George Bush Sr. and Jr., and they both became president of the US. Anyways, this clip is of George Sr., aka Papa Bush, and most people are in agreement that he is absolutely a reptilian. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to be convinced that all the politicians are, but who knows? Maybe the whole world is. Maybe I am. Honestly, I wish I could shapeshift. Then I would just shapeshift myself into a passenger that has a ticket to board a flight to Paris and peace out of here. You know what I mean? Anyways, in this clip, his eyes definitely form into slits, and there's no doubt that if this clip is real, and so many say that it is, then, he's definitely not human. In our number 4 spot, we have Eileen Wuornos. Eileen Wuornos, who is known as an American serial killer, did a number of interviews before she was executed on October 9th, 2002. During a number of her interviews, people claimed to have seen some weird shape-shifting happening. This is a clip of an interview that she did where her eyes appeared to show that infamous reptile slit. There is so many people that believe that sometimes shapeshifters are responsible for some of the worst crimes in the world, and then they just, shapeshift out of prison afterwards after taking over the body of humans. That's definitely an interesting theory. I mean, regardless, clearly Eileen was evil, so even if she's not a shapeshifter, I'm sure someone could make a case for her being possessed by a demon. In our number 3 spot, we have Reptile Woman. This woman has been dubbed Reptile Woman for pretty obvious reasons. The footage that was taken of this mystery woman surfaced online and was apparently not altered in any way. The footage seems quite normal until it's broken down frame by frame, and suddenly it's as if you see a different person. Her hands look different, her back, her face, and her eyes. It's fascinating. I personally wish the footage was easier to see, as it's not fully convincing me looking at something so blurry. It just makes me feel like it's been altered, but who knows? I may be wrong, and it sure seems like a lot of people believe that it's real. There have been a few people that have tried to debunk it, and truly I think I'm with them on their analysis. This one is too blurry for me to think that it's possibly real, but whatever. It might be. In our number 2 spot, we have M.W. Jeffrey Black Hodgson. Let's call him Jeff. you know, for short. So Jeff is the Grand Master of the Masons in Massachusetts. Yeah, if you don't know anything about the Masons, then definitely have a Google sesh later tonight. That's a whole other rabbit hole in itself. But yeah, if you know anything about the Masons, then you probably won't be surprised that they are on this list. The Grand Master, the big guy calling the shots, is in this video, and he certainly shows signs of being a shapeshifter. From his eyes suddenly showing slits to his skin apparently showing evidence, there are a lot of people that believe that this guy is a shapeshifter. And in our number 1 spot we have Britney Spears. Okay, this one I refuse to believe is real, because I love her. God, I do not want to believe it, but the footage certainly makes you think that it's possible that she's a shapeshifter, or that a shapeshifter at some point had taken over her body. That to me would check out more when you think of everything that she has been fighting for recently in terms of her freedom and gaining full control of her body back again. Who knows? Perhaps there is way more to it than we can imagine. I just love her though, so I refuse to believe that she was born a reptile. Anyways, in this shot, her eyes seemingly show slits at times, just like a lot of the other footage that we've shown, and this would point to some kind of reptile living within her.
With the latest buzz in extraterrestrial news, the mysterious bodies of supposed mummified aliens that were displayed in front of the Mexican Congress. Jamie Masan, a journalist and UFOologist, presented these fossilized bodies to the politicians, claiming that they're over 1,000 years old. He testified under oath saying, quote, "These specimens are not part of the evolution of our world. They were not recovered from a UFO scrap. They were found fossilized in a diatom moss mine." So this is the first public congressional hearing on UFOs in Mexico, which is pretty cool, but I gotta say these alien bodies look a little suspect. They're kind of cute. If this is what our standard grays really look like, that would be a pleasant surprise. They've always been reported as being short and scrawny, but these things look like they're almost doll-sized. Anyway, I hope this is legit, but what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Next up, we have a UFO hovering over Mexico City. This video is taken in 2015 and shows what appears to be some kind of mysterious object hovering in the air. Pretty good video because we get a good long look at the object, and it definitely looks odd. Strange shape to it. It's been described as beetle-like, which I can definitely see. The video was sent to Scott Waring, a self-proclaimed UFO expert. He's come up a couple times in my previous videos. Anyway, he thought the clip was legit enough to share on his YouTube channel. This could be a drone, but again, what do you all think? Next on the list, we have the 1991 Eclipse UFO sighting. This was a pretty big case at the time, probably one of the most famous UFO sightings in Mexico. During the 1991 solar eclipse, there was a big celebration in Mexico City, and many took to videotaping the sky to document being thrust into sudden darkness in the middle of the day. But on some of these tapes, folks managed to capture something they weren't expecting to see. A mysterious silver disc-shaped object hovering through the sky. A television executive named Guillermo Aragon took the most well-known piece of footage and sent the tape to, again, Jamie Masan, the same guy we brought up before with those alien bodies. This guy's been in the UFO scene for a very long time. Anyway, the footage was released to the public, and the TV station was flooded with phone calls with people claiming to have seen the object, and more tapes started getting sent in, some of which showed that same strange disc-like object. At number 7, we have the Mexican Air Force sighting. On March 5th, 2004, several Mexican Air Force pilots filmed a series of strange, glowing, unidentified flying objects, 11 in total, hovering in the skies over southern Campeche state. The pilots were on routine anti-drone trafficking vigilance when they spotted the strange objects which they reported surrounding their jet. They attempted to pursue the objects, but eventually they disappeared out of sight. Gotta say, this is a pretty compelling piece of footage. Even though the video quality isn't great, you get to observe these objects for a long time. It's not like they just appeared and flew away in the blink of an eye. Plus, I always find it interesting when pilots who spend a great deal of time flying in the air or observe things like this and have no explanation for what it is. Number 6, Carlos de los Santos sighting. Carlos de los Santos is a retired pilot who experienced a terrifying encounter with 3 disc-shaped UFOs in 1975. He was on a flight back to Mexico City in his Piper 24 Comanche. There was nothing wrong with the plane, weather conditions were good, and he was about an hour into the flight when suddenly he spotted something on his right wing. It was a silver disc-like object, about 13 feet long. He was incredibly startled and confused by this, and to make matters worse, it wasn't long until he spotted an identical object on his left wing. And then a third object appeared, this time hurling towards him from the front of the plane, and it just missed him. And it was at this point that Carlos lost control of the plane altogether. He tried to move the control wheel, but the plane wouldn't respond. He made a frantic call to air traffic control saying he had lost control of his aircraft and that he was surrounded by UFOs before suddenly his plane completely changed course. The plane started to ascend, climbing higher and higher into the sky. He basically thought he was going to die. Just when he'd started to accept his fate and that there was no way he was going to get out of this situation, the strange objects flew away from his aircraft and he found that the controls were suddenly working again. At number 5, we have the Popocatepe Volcano. I could fill up an entire list with the UFO sightings spotted in this one area alone. It's not only one of the most active volcanoes in the country, but it seems to be one of the biggest hotbeds of unidentified flying objects as well. UFO sightings around the volcano have raised eyebrows and sparked curiosity among locals and researchers. Witnesses describe seeing strange, unidentified flying objects near the volcano, often displaying unconventional flight patterns and characteristics. The sightings have been documented by multiple sources too, including photographs, videos. One of the factors contributing to the frequent UFO sightings near the volcano is its geographic location. The volcano stands at an elevation of over 17,000 feet and is situated in a region known for seismic and volcanic activity. Some speculate that these conditions might attract extraterrestrial, intersect, or create unusual atmospheric phenomena that lead to the sightings. Reports of UFOs around the volcano have also drawn the attention of researchers and organizations dedicated to studying unidentified aerial phenomenon. These groups aim to collect data and analyze eyewitness accounts and investigate the nature of these sightings. Now, I think some of these sightings can obviously be attributed to natural phenomenon or aircraft, but there are others that remain unexplained. Next on the list is the Luminous UFO. Just at the end of July this year, in a town called Tamaulipas in northeastern Mexico, this strange glowing object was seen hovering in the sky. It's hard to really call it an object though. Kind of just looks like light. Maybe there's an object projecting the light, but it's just obscured by clouds or haze, and this is just the lights from the aircraft piercing through. Anyway, the clip was shared to TikTok by user Marcela Guzman, and it's kind of beautiful actually, almost like a jellyfish floating through the sky. Number 3, the Last Locus UFO. This next piece of footage was taken in 1997. As you could probably tell by the tasty VHS grainy quality, it was taken in the Las Lomas neighborhood in Mexico City. Pretty obvious what's going on in this video. You see what looks like your classic B-movie disc-shaped UFO floating through the sky as our cameraman films on with audible shock and confusion. The object seems to be quite wobbly too, which leads a lot of commenters to say it looks like it's being held up with a string. There are other less skeptical viewers though who speculate that maybe there was something wrong with the vessel, which would help explain why it was flying so low in the first place as well. It's actually a pretty fascinating video because while the wobbliness of this supposed alien vessel does make it look less convincing, it does appear to be floating in the distance. It doesn't look like some kind of camera trick. And in terms of faking something like this with computer generated effects, that was much more difficult to pull off in 1997, especially for your average everyday person. Next, we have a story from Reddit that I'm going to call Consumed by Light. It was posted by Space Chainsaw 810 and goes like this. Not my story, but my wife's middle school teacher in Mexico. The teacher was with a group of her 3 friends driving from, I believe, Tijuana to Mexicali. To get there, they pass through a very curvy downhill grade called La Rumorosa, and the surrounding terrain is rocky cliffs and desert as they descend. You start to descend and see a very bright light coming towards them. They think it's a semi-truck with their high beams on, but the light gets brighter and brighter until it consumes them. They all wake up hours later at the bottom of the grade, on the side of the road, unharmed, but they all had a strange needle mark on their upper forearms. Finally, we have Mayan artifacts. There's this theory that's floated around for years that the Mayans were visited by extraterrestrials thousands of years ago, possibly aiding them in constructing the brilliant architecture that they had. Many Mayan artifacts came to public attention in 2012 following the Mexican government's disclosure that they had been kept hidden for approximately 80 years. Some of these artifacts feature carvings and drawings that bear pretty striking resemblance to flying saucers and small beings with large eyes. Speculations about whether the Mayans had actual contact with aliens became a pretty talked about thing at the time, and certainly the Mayans were known for their remarkable artistry, but some of these pieces were just a little too strange. For instance, one artifact is a sarcophagus lid portraying an individual seemingly enclosed within a capsule resembling a spaceship. Another piece is the palanque slab, depicting a figure seated in what closely resembles a cockpit adorned with numerous knobs and buttons. So, did the Mayans encounter something of extraterrestrial origin, and these artifacts were their means of documenting those encounters? There are quite a few similarities between the designs found on some of these ancient artifacts and the depictions of modern UFO sightings and spacecraft designs.
Spot, we have wolves. Okay, this is a story that reflects the first time I heard about astral projection, my immediate fear and worry I had about it. Not returning to your body when you want. They start off the story by writing that their experience started off normally. They flew through their bedroom window and there was a man in their backyard drinking a beer by a fire pit. The storyteller joins them for a drink, they talk like old friends, there were some other entities, but everything was just good vibes. Then they wrote, quote, "All of a sudden I see 3 wolves come in from the backyard with strange freaky looking masks, and they say, 'Do you all want to play a game?' As soon as they said that, I said hell no to myself and quickly went to snap back to my body. They then explained that despite every other projection experience they've had being able to return directly towards their body whenever they wanted, this time it was different. They were back in their body, but they couldn't wake up. They couldn't move. They then explained that once they were finally able to wake up fully, they saw little dark spots and felt like they weren't fully back from the astral plane into the physical one. Now, the next time they went to project, the wolves were still in the backyard waiting to see if they were coming out again, so they probably smartfully decided against it." In our number 9 spot today, we have 11 Days. This is a story that comes from a Reddit user, and the short of it is really summed up well in the caption, quote, "I accidentally had an astral projection that lasted 11 full days in my mind." Okay, we're off to quite the start. Basically, this person starts off by explaining that this isn't the first time they've accidentally astral projected. Like the other day I accidentally slipped and fell on ice. I don't know how people are out here accidentally having an out-of-body experience, but I guess some people just have more interesting lives than me. So basically this projection starts out with this person being in a cemetery. They didn't have a body and instead they were just floating around. Then a sort of guardian spirit appeared and told them that they had a job they needed to do. They then spent 3 days digging in a cave and ended up digging a skeleton out of the ground, and once that was dug up, then they were no longer floating around and they suddenly had a body. From then on, this person and the spirit went walking through the forest having long conversations about the person's life, and the spirit told them what would later happen to them in their life and answered a bunch of questions the person had for them. The final moment of the projection was when, on the last day, they arrived at a waterfall. The spirit allowed the person to play in the beautiful area for 3 hours and remarked how it was sad that they couldn't stay. After this, the spirit told them it was time to go and they woke up again. They end off their story by saying that they weren't able to see the spirit's face, and while he told this person his name, they couldn't remember it as soon as they woke up. This left them with a distinct impression that they weren't supposed to know or remember these things. In our number 8 spot today, we have Breathe. The story is one that the poster called an odd experience, but I'm not gonna lie, when I read it, it was the one single story that got me kind of intrigued into the idea of projection. I don't think I'm gonna try it anytime soon, but I'll admit, it sounded kind of inviting. They wrote, quote, "So I was laying in bed last night and decided I wanted to try and astral project. I was just laying there and kinda came up with my own meditation technique when something kinda strange but really stimulating happened. Both my body and mind were still awake, so I don't know if I call this was me about to astral project or what. Suddenly my body felt really light but heavy at the same time. Also, it was like a new energy that I've never felt. I've also never breathed better in my life. So I'm asking if anyone knows what this was. I mean, I definitely can't say what this was, but it sounds kinda cool. There's just something about the idea of being able to breathe better that I want to experience. Can anybody tell me if that's normal to astral projection? Maybe that's what's gonna get me into it." In our number 7 spot today, we have The Beginner. This is an astral projection story that I guess shows an experience that is fairly common for beginners. They wrote about how they began with having sleep paralysis. They wrote, quote, "Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I know it's all hallucinations. I didn't see anything, but it sounded like there was something scratching at my window. I closed my eyes and floated upwards. Again, I closed my eyes but could still see me passing stuff, but eventually I was in a black place. So I opened my eyes as an experiment and boom, back in my body. This happened before when I attempted an astral projection out of a lucid dream. Same deal. So it appears as though they are capable of the projection but are just having trouble seeing. This probably isn't the most wild story on this list, but it is still quite interesting to see how people have different experiences and that sometimes it can be based on your experience level." In our number 6 spot today, we have The Child. This story is about a very strange astral projection experience someone had. They wrote, quote, "I was having normal lucid dreams all over the place and I came back home right over my body and could see myself and the blanket I was sleeping under. Right as I began watching myself sleep, I felt something bite me. And in the dream, I lifted up my blanket and a small child crawled out and I told it to get the heck out and it ran out the front door. I then woke up in real life. Weirdest AP of my life. Just had to share it here." They then go on to ask Reddit if anyone else has ever been touched or hurt while astral projecting and had it actually hurt in their physical body. This seems like a super terrifying experience, but I also think bizarre is the perfect word for it as well. I definitely don't think the person this happened to was expecting it. I honestly don't know much about astral projection, so I wonder what this all could mean. In our number 5 spot today, we have The Fall. This story is about someone who had a negative astral projection experience, but they said it was still a fairly light-hearted one, which is always good. They wrote about how they went to bed early, so they tried some meditation to help them as they wanted to either lucid dream or astral project. I find this so funny because I absolutely hate dreams. I think sleep should be peaceful. I don't want to be thinking about stuff. I want to be left alone. Any day I wake up and can't remember my dreams from the night before is a great morning for me. So maybe I don't understand the desire, but I still think it's cool. They then go on to say that after this, once they had fallen asleep, they woke up every 2 hours, and at one point they felt like they were awake but that their body was still asleep. They then tried to roll out of bed / out of their body and it worked, but maybe a little too well. Their projection self fell out of bed and hurt their hip, and it actually physically hurt them, which in the end returned them to their body. They end up saying it's no hard feelings, something that they just kind of laughed off. It was just surprising and kinda silly. In our number 4 spot today, we have The Sudden Projection. This Reddit story starts off with the person explaining that normally when doing some sort of astral projection work, it takes them about an hour or so to build up the vibrations that lead them to the breakthrough. It takes time for them and isn't really something that happens suddenly. They then go on to explain that the night prior to their posting, they were just trying to head off to sleep when all of a sudden they saw brightness behind their eyelids and felt vibrations throughout their whole body. They wrote, quote, "I felt spinning and weightless almost immediately after. Meanwhile, that brightness was a pure fuzzy bright white light with a grayish flickering circle in the middle of my sight, which appeared to have, for lack of a better word, lightning strikes all over the place. That circle with the lightnings or cracks started rotating very fast and 2 even brighter spots appeared to the left and right of it, and I felt accelerating. They then leaned into the feeling it kept accelerating until what they described as breaking through the circle and a typical, quote, sonic boom sound. After this, their destination slowly started appearing to them, but it was slowly loading, almost like a video game, and it was black and white or grayscale. This was sadly the end of what they can remember from their sudden, accidental astral projection. In our number 3 spot today, we have the smile. This is a story that comes from someone who marked this as a negative astral projection experience. They wrote, quote, "About 30 minutes ago I decided to try astral projection again since I hadn't done it in a long time, but had a very non-pleasant experience. I went about the usual methods, simply entering a meditative state. Before I had assumed it didn't work, so I opened my eyes, and I was trapped in my body. I tried to lift myself, but to no avail. For some reason, I felt myself smiling widely, almost like my mouth was stuck that way, and despite my best efforts, I could not change its position. I began to hear a woman's whisper, and I would hear familiar instrumentals to songs. I felt like something was trying to enter me, like it was going through my nose, so I demanded it to leave, and it did. I went to check my phone, but it wouldn't work. For some reason, I had 2, but I do not own 2. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. This sounds absolutely terrifying, but also the most random collection of things. Some of the people responding to this story suggested that perhaps it was sleep paralysis, but there are also people discussing how the presence felt might have been some part of their consciousness that they had previously tucked away. In our number 2 spot today, we have the shockwave. This story is about a negative experience someone had, and they were posting it in the hopes of finding someone who could give them a little guidance as they were feeling really unsure about the entire thing. They wrote, quote, "I was going through different eras full of beautiful sounds and ended up in complete darkness. There was a pinpoint of light, tiny. I pulled away as I feared it. As I pulled back to reality, it shocked my entire body. I convulsed. I was awake, but my consciousness was not with me. Every time I tried to move, I got vertigo, laid back down, and my body made me go back. I saw the light again. Boom, shocked my body again. I jumped. My heart raced as I was terrified. I was going 1,000 miles an hour or faster. I fought it and pulled myself out, zapped again once more. I was able to stay awake at this point, but I was done at the point with no desire to go back. Is this normal? What are your experiences? Personally, this entire list is about stuff I have never experienced at all, so it's tough for me to say what's normal and what's not. If you're more familiar, maybe you can let us all know down in the comments. This sounds thrilling and terrifying, but is it a typical experience? In our number 1 spot today, we have the entity. Honestly, I am getting surprised at how many people somehow accidentally astral project. This is another one of those stories, and they wrote, quote, "I've been curious about astral projection on and off for years now, but never fully committed. I've had a few accidental lucid dreams too, but I never got the full hang of it. This morning I woke up, scrolled on the phone for a bit, then fell back asleep, but I felt like I was in a sleep paralysis, but in a different room, which was strange, so I thought maybe I could try it and see where I am. My body started feeling weightless, like as if I were flying, but I couldn't see anything but this blank wall that resembles the wall in my room, but it's blank. The walls in my room all have decorations and posters. I started seeing a human figure in the wall that started smiling at me, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It felt like it was saying the words, 'fall' to me, and it just kept saying it angrily. Then my body started feeling like it was actually falling, but I was still trapped in my bed. My blanket felt heavier. The only thing I could do was to breathe and just try practicing meditation, hoping I would calm down and get out. In this space I was in, I felt like I was able to slowly scoot out of the blanket, then I woke up." That sounds absolutely terrifying. I can't even imagine. I know this was accidental, but that definitely would have been enough for me to never project again. I want in my body experiences only after that.
The 800 million year old body. Allegedly, in 1969, Soviet scientists stumbled upon something quite extraordinary. A 800 million year old human body preserved in a stone tomb was located 70 feet underground by local miners. Apparently, the perfectly preserved body of a beautiful girl was found outside a remote village in Russia. Some people dismiss this claim to be straight out of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but others say that it is authentic and that the scientists conspired to cover this up, as this body alone disproves Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Ooh, yep, I bet you someone somewhere with money decided, nope, we're covering this one up for sure. This would completely disprove all of what scientists believe about the planet and our human existence, and that is very scary and nerve-wracking. In our number 9 spot, we have the Chandar Slab. also known as the Dashka stone. This stone was found in 1999 in South Urals, and it appears to be a 3D map of the Urals region, which could have only been done using aerial or satellite surveys, which is interesting to note, considering it is believed to be anywhere from 3,000 to 50 million years old. Times when, of course, that wouldn't have been possible. Radiocarbon testing provided no clarity as to when it was created. Another curious thing about it is that there are inscriptions on it from an unknown language. It's a very mysterious and potentially dark finding that Russian scientists are still puzzled about today. In our number 8 spot, we have alien skulls. A Russian researcher and scientist, Vladimir Melikov, discovered 2 mysterious alien skulls in Russia, along with a briefcase that is clearly German and from World War II. It was discovered in a Russian mountain range in Caucasus. The skulls are not human and are believed to have belonged to a bipedal species, aka an alien species. Vladimir said this while speaking to a reporter. Note the round hole at the bottom of the head. It is the base of the spine. The position indicates that this creature moved on 2 legs. Another strange thing is the absence of cranial vault and jaws, a mouth, several holes distributed in a circle. The eye sockets are unusually large. However, the facial bones are flat, as in hominids. He believed this belonged to a species that visited Earth. In our number 7 spot, we have the Razendis. A mysterious metal chest plate was discovered in Russia and is now being featured in the State Historical Museum. The artifact was found in Ryazan, a place about 200 kilometers from Moscow. The only thing that is known about the object is that it is from the 4th century and that the artifact has similarities to the Greek object, the Antikythera mechanism, that was used to predict eclipses and the positions of the planets. Scientists are puzzled over its mysteriousness, and apparently there is no explanation for the concentric circles that are covering the surface of the object. Whatever it was used for, there's no denying that it sure looks mystical. It looks like it could have also just been armor for a soldier too, but maybe that's just me. In our number 6 spot, we have frozen alien corpses. Scientists have discovered this alleged frozen alien corpse in Siberia in Russia. The area had quite a few sightings of a UFO crash right before the corpse was found. It was reported that the Russian military was sent to the area to clean up the crash and scope out the remains, but they missed the bodies. It was said that the corpse was pretty damaged. It was 2 feet high and part of its right leg was missing. Further investigation is being done on this finding, but this would definitely be a dark finding if proven to be an alien species. In our number 5 spot, we have a deadly disease. Siberia, having quite harsh weather conditions, has frozen a lot of artifacts over the thousands of years, including people. A body was discovered after being frozen for a very long time, and after a thorough analysis of the body, it was found that the body contained the deadly disease smallpox. The cold climate apparently sometimes keeps the body in good condition and therefore keeps the disease alive and active. Apparently there were a lot of bodies buried in Siberia due to the disease, so the people of the area are quite worried about it coming back. Thankfully, the scientists took all of the precautions to make sure that it did not spread. In our number 4 spot, we have the end of the world. What? Scientists have discovered a crater under Siberia, and apparently it's one of the world's largest craters. They are unable to pinpoint how deep the crater is, and apparently nobody is willing to find out as of yet. The crater's diameter is over 200 feet across. It has been dubbed the end of the world. It's a mystery as to how this crater was formed. Of course, the theory is that there was some kind of explosion, and others think it's the work of a meteorite. Could it be a UFO crash? Apparently, an enormous amount of methane was found in the surrounding area, which makes scientists lean more on the meteorite theory. Pretty wild. In our number 3 spot, we have a 3,000-year-old virus. Due to the ice caps melting, a lot of artifacts and centuries-old bodies that were once frozen are melting and being uncovered. Apparently, a few hundred feet under the tundra of Siberia, a virus was discovered. A virus that is 30,000 years old. And no, we do not have a cure for this virus. However, it is thankfully not a virus that is a threat to humans, but to amoebas. So at least it's not too big of a concern for us. The finding of this virus has had scientists everywhere wonder what virus may be lurking under the ice caps that we will find in the future. In our number 2 spot, we have the baby mammoth. Okay, this one isn't dark, per se, but I suppose its coat is a darker shade of brown, so fine, I'm stretching, but it needed an honorable mention because it's cool. A baby mammoth was discovered in 2007 in Russia. It is said to be over 48,000 years old, and the remains were found completely intact due to being frozen for all of these years, and only recently being revealed due to the ice cap melting. Even the eyes were still fully intact. Whoa. It is apparently now in a museum close to where it was found so that the world can now see it. Pretty cool. In our number 1 spot, we have the Bronze Age couple. In 2017, archaeologists discovered the remains of a man and woman holding hands. So cute. Truly a tale as old as time. Till death, they did not part. But seriously, this is so cute and wild because this couple is said to be from the Bronze Age, about 4,800 to 4,300 years ago. The other crazy thing about this couple is that the man had a wide jade ring in his eye socket. There were apparently more rings on his chest, and beside his knee was a bag with metals that have an unknown purpose. Beside the woman, there was a 13-centimeter jade knife. Apparently, the jade rings were a symbol for money, and only a small number of craftsmen in eastern Siberia could make them. Scientists have also been puzzled over how people of this time were able to produce such fine carving. What technology did they use?
Alien bodies. Last week, after testifying under oath in front of Mexico's Congress, journalist and ufologist Jose Jaime Masan shocked the world with 2 boxes that he claimed to contain the bodies of deceased aliens. This is the first time extraterrestrial life is presented in such a form, and I think there is a clear demonstration that we are dealing with non-human specimens that are not related to any other species in our world, Jose told the lawmakers. He also said, at the moment, the Pentagon has not agreed to release this information and allow congressmen to witness these biological remains. We are going to discover at this moment those bodies that, according to the scientists who are going to declare it here, are non-human beings. Now, he also claimed they are beings, non-humans, who are not a part of our terrestrial evolution, and that after disappearing, we do not think there is a subsequent evolution. According to Jose, the National Autonomous University of Mexico performed carbon-14 dating on the perpetrated bodies and determined them to be between 700 years and 1,800 years old. Number 9. The Phoenix Lights. The Phoenix Lights were a series of widely sighted unidentified flying objects observed in the sky over the southwestern states of Arizona and Nevada on March 13, 1997. Lights of varying descriptions were seen by thousands of people between 7:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. in the space of about 300 miles from the Nevada line straight through Phoenix to the end of Tucson. Some witnesses described seeing what happened to be a huge carpenter square-shaped UFO containing 5 spherical lights. There were 2 distinct events involved in the incident: a triangular formation of lights seen to pass over the state, and a series of stationary lights seen in the Phoenix area. Now, this wasn't the only time the lights were seen, as there were reports of strange lights over the state in 2007 and 2008. Now, this event has since become one of the most notorious UF sightings in history. Number 8. The Salford Gray. The County of Yorkshire has reportedly seen over 200 alien and UFO sightings in the last 20 years, but while there isn't a lot of footage that's readily available, just a few miles away in Salford, there is quite the compelling video of a gray alien wandering around. Now, gray aliens tend to be the ones that people most think of when they think of aliens, and are often what alleged abductees describe after they've been returned. Now, this video was posted onto YouTube by a channel called Paratruthers, which claims it was recently shut down by the government, and has posted several sightings of these gray aliens similar to the one in this video. The caption on YouTube reads, "Grey alien caught on camera January 2015 in Salford, UK. Look at how it walks. This is definitely a real alien. It's way too tall and skinny to be a regular person, and its skin appears wet like a snake's skin. This is definitely the rare tall white type of grey. Never before sighted in the UK. What are they doing here? What are they doing?" Now, does this look believable to you? Personally, I'm not too sure. Number 7. Tic Tac UFO.
Recently, 2 former Navy pilots were interviewed by 60 Minutes on CBS News about a UFO sighting over the Pacific Ocean in 2004. Commander Dave Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich spotted the unidentified object during a training exercise, but were unable to classify it. Dave described it as a little white Tic Tac looking object, adding that it lacked conventional exhaust plumes and had no wings or visible markings. It also moved erratically, the pilot said. In an interview with NBC News, Dave described the 2004 encounter, calling the object the strangest, most obscure thing I've ever seen flying. As soon as we look down, we see the white water, and then we see this little white Tic Tac. It's pointing north-south, and it's just going forward, back, left, right, he said, adding that it was bouncing around like a ping pong ball. Dave said he approached the mysterious object to take a closer look and began mirroring his movements, and then when the pilot got within half a mile of the UFO, it suddenly vanished. Number 6. Fresno Nightcrawler. In 2007, Fresno homeowner Jose managed to capture footage of what looks like a pair of pants walking on their own, just taking a stroll down his driveway. Jose only saw them after reviewing the footage, and these beings baffled him as well as investigators of the sci-fi docuseries Fact or Faked Paranormal Files, who deemed the suspicious slacks unconfirmable. Now, by all accounts, the Nightcrawler is pale, slender, and walks as though it is crawling, despite being an upright biped. The Fresno sighting was documented. Other people have claimed to have witnessed the same creature in the immediate area. Sometimes there has been a pair seen together, with the only difference being in its height. Now, footage of the creature exists, and it's clearly not a creature of this world, and there's been speculation online that they're figures from Native American lore, but with little to support it, it seems like we'll never know what was taking a midnight stroll that night. Number 5. The Watchmen. For Yalçın Yalman, aliens and UFOs are seemingly all in a day's work. The Turkish night watchman is so used to encounters with extraterrestrials that he's pretty much unfazed by them. Since 2007, from the suburban Istanbul holiday village where he worked as a night watchman, he has captured many photos and videos of UFOs. His documentation of UFO sightings doesn't just span a few minutes or hours, but years of repeated visitations. Now, in some of his footage, you can even make out 2 pilots of the craft that he has shot. It seems like this night watchman doesn't just look out for intruders, but aliens as well. Number 4. Triangle Object. The Defense Department has confirmed that leaked photos and video of an unidentified aerial phenomena taken in 2019 are indeed legitimate images of unexplained objects. Photos and videos of triangle-shaped objects blinking and moving through the clouds were taken by Navy personnel, Pentagon spokeswoman Sue Go said in a statement to CNN. She also confirmed that the photos of 3 unidentified flying objects, one sphere-shaped, another acorn-shaped, and one characterized as a metallic blimp, were also taken by Navy personnel. As we have said before, to maintain operation security and to avoid disclosing information that may be useful to potential adversaries, DoD does not discuss publicly the details of either the observations or the examinations of reported incursions in our training ranges or designated airspace, including those incursions initially designated as UAP, she said. She also said that the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, created to investigate UFO sightings observed by the military, has included these incidents in their ongoing examination. Number 3. The Redgate Alien. Over in Montana, a trail camera captured a candid photo of a creature that appears to be out of this world. The Redgate area has garnered a reputation in recent years as being somewhat of a UFO and alien sighting hotspot. Now, a man claims to have evidence of alien life after his hunting camera recorded a naked, bulbous head figure running. The eerie image shows what looks like a gray humanoid darting around a field. Now, the hunter who took the photo, Donald Bromley, said that he initially thought the creature was a person, but the more he looked at the image, he became convinced it had extraterrestrial origins. Speaking to the local outlet KXLF, he said, "The more I looked at it, it was odd, it was out of place, and everything just matches the alien persona, the bigger bulbous head, and you can tell he has no clothes. It's kind of a transparent being." Number 2. Leaked video. A leaked Navy video captured in July 2019 showed a sphere-shaped unidentified object flying over water near San Diego. Now, the footage obtained by a documentary filmmaker and shared with NBC News appeared to show the mysterious object flying for a few minutes before disappearing into the water. The video was captured by a Navy aircraft and recorded in the USS Omaha's Combat Information Center, according to the filmmaker Jeremy Corbell. The clip appears to show a spherical object flying above the water for a few minutes near San Diego before it vanishes. "It splashed," a military personnel can be heard saying in the video. Now, the Defense Department confirmed that the clip was recorded by Navy personnel and said it will be reviewed by the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, a panel which was established last year to gain insight into the nature and origins of such objects. And coming in at number 1 is backyard aliens. In late April of this year, Las Vegas police officers investigated reports of 2 unknown entities falling from the sky, and on the same night, a nearby resident called 911 to report something 100% not human on their property. According to authorities, a man called 911 to report 2 unknown entities in his backyard after he and his family saw a similar object fall from the sky. The man described the creature as 8 to 10 feet tall beings that appear to be like aliens with big mouths, big shiny eyes, and added they're 100% not human. They were looking right at him and his family from their backyard, and he kept clarifying that it was not a joke and that he was terrified of whatever was lurking in the dark. While initially open for several days, the department has closed the case, and the family said officials returned to the home over several days to investigate, and representatives from nearby Creech and Nellis Air Force Base said they were not involved in the incident and suggested contacting Metro Police. Now, a spokesperson for the Pentagon did not immediately respond for questions regarding this event. So, who knows what they truly saw?
Human tails. If we take a look at the animal kingdom, tails are a pretty common thing. In fact, most birds, mammals, reptiles, and even fish have tails. Humans, however, for the most part, don't. Well, most of us anyways. There is a rare mutation that humans can be born with an actual tail. It's actually believed that very early on, as a baby is being developed in the womb, there will be a tail attached to this child. It's a very small thing that will go away, but for some humans, it never does. This makes a lot of sense because it's believed that humans evolved from creatures that would have had tails. In fact, pretty much all monkeys have tails, so it makes sense that at one point or another, we also would have had these little things poking out of our backside. Unlike a lot of other entries on this list, this mutation isn't necessarily super dangerous. For most people, they go on to live totally normal lives just with a tiny little tail. Obviously, it's gotta be pretty bloody annoying though, because I feel like your entire life you'd just be perpetually sitting on your own tail, which would kinda suck. But there could also be some cool things with this too. Some people actually have the capability to move their own tail. Like they actually have control over the full thing. I don't think that they can swing off of trees or anything like that, but still, moving a tail around would definitely make for a pretty neat party trick. Number 9 on this list is Reptile Hearts. Let me paint you the picture here, folks. You're chilling out at your home, everything is good. It's just a typical day in your 59-year-old male life. Boom, your chest starts to feel a bit strange, then it starts to get worse. The pains are significant right now and you think, holy mother of God, am I having a heart attack? You rush to the hospital just praying that you make it there in time and that your heart can hold on until then. You get there, but once you do, you get a very surprising report. The good news is that you aren't suffering from a heart attack and that death isn't totally imminent. The bad news is that you're slowly turning into a snake. Well, at least your heart is doing that. This is literally exactly what happened to a 59-year-old man. How this happened, why this happened, and what we can do to prevent it are all things that doctors truly don't know. In truth, this was only the second time that this has ever reportedly happened. Now, it's very possible that it's happened to other people and just hasn't been reported yet, but either way, it's still super rare. Being a snake would definitely be pretty cool, but I think I'd like to stick with my human heart if that's alright. Number 8 on this list is multiple breasts. Having 2 breasts is honestly a pretty unique human thing. Think about all of the other mammals out there that have way more than that. Back in the day, it's believed that we would have evolved from creatures that had way more than 2 breasts. So why did this go away? Well, there really just wasn't any reason to have more than 2. Cats, for instance, have more than that, but they also give birth to multiple offspring at a time, so there's an actual purpose for having them. Humans typically give birth to one other human at a time, and in very rare cases, two. Therefore, having more than two breasts just really doesn't make any evolutionary sense. However, the genes are there, we've done it before, and that's why, in rare cases, sometimes it happens again. What's kinda strange is that this mutation is way more common in men than it is in women. And because it's way more common in men, these additional breasts often go unnoticed. The women that do end up with this mutation typically have these extra breasts removed. They can't really decide where these things pop up, and having a breast growing in your armpit has gotta be pretty uncomfortable. Number 7 on this list is ectrodactyly. This is commonly known as a split hand or split foot mutation. Middle fingers or middle toes will usually be affected, and in some individuals, literally all 4 hands and feet can be hit with it. This sucks for everybody who has to deal with it, but especially those who have all their limbs affected. It's gotta be brutal. Think about having to walk around or grab things like this. You can't. You wouldn't be able to. How are you supposed to drive a car or text on a phone or literally walk properly if it's your feet that are affected? This should affect people at birth, so if you don't have it right now, then you should be okay. Number 6 on this list is the Proteus syndrome. Proteus syndrome is a rare condition which will affect your bones, your skin, your muscles, and literally all other tissues in the body. This mutation is really very scary, and I feel for those who it affects. Basically, parts of your body will grow at a proportion to the rest of your body. This mutation is also asymmetric, so you may have your left leg get really big, but your right leg stays at a normal size. This syndrome can also affect literally any part of your body too. Your face, nostrils, legs, arms, ears, you name it, and if you have this mutation, they might just get really big. This mutation obviously makes it very difficult for those individuals to live everyday normal lives and will often be struggling with it forever. It also makes it far more likely to develop tumors and some skin conditions that your everyday individuals usually don't need to worry as much about. If you're watching this video and you don't already have it, then you're probably good unless you're between the ages of 6 months and 18 months. That's when you typically notice the growth, and from there on out, it's just gonna continue with age. Number 5 on this list is hypertrichosis. Ever wondered what it's like to be the teen wolf? Well, if you develop this mutation, then this is probably as close as you're gonna be able to get. Basically, this mutation is excessive hair growth. We're talking like serious levels of hair here, guys. Not just a scruffy beard, but full-on locks growing out of your cheeks and everything. For a very long time, you'd often see people who had this disease working in the circus. Julia Pastrana is one of the most famous ones. She was born in Mexico in 1834 and made a name for herself in the circus community, becoming a performer and showing off her mutation. And honestly, shout out Julia. I have to imagine that it's very difficult being born with something like that, but Julia went out there, made the best out of a bad situation, so honestly, solid respect. Number 4 on this list is Unertan syndrome. So this mutation is super specific, and right now the scientific community is still trying to decide whether it's an actual mutation or if people are just trying to punk us. Let me explain. UTS is a syndrome that was proposed by the Turkish evolutionary biologist Unertan after studying 5 members of the Ulus family in rural Turkey. These individuals all walked on all 4s, all used primitive speech, and appeared to have congenital brain impairment. It's very strange though, because nobody really knows why this happened. That's why some people in the scientific community have come out and talked about how genetics have absolutely nothing to do with it. But if genetics do have something to do with this, and this is a mutation, then it sounds to me like humans are straight up devolving, losing all connection to our human characteristics and getting closer to dogs or other 4-legged animals. I don't know, guys, this is a weird one. Let me know in the comments what you guys think it could be. Number 3 on this list is Fibrodisplasia ossificans progressiva. Wow, alright, that was a mouthful. Well, for simplicity's sake, and so I don't embarrass myself anymore by mispronouncing this thing, we're gonna call this FOP from here on out. FOP is a very dangerous and rare condition that you do not want to get. This mutation literally causes your muscles and tissues to start to calcify and ultimately turn into bones. Yeah, you heard that right, guys. You literally start to become just a bone. Basically a statue with skin over top of it. As you can can imagine, movement can become very limited when you have this mutation, and you'll have some other health issues arise as well. Breathing can be difficult, and it can also become difficult to speak or eat, and that leads to other major problems that I don't even want to get into. This one is scary as all holy hell and really makes me appreciate the ability to move around. Number 2 on this list is Trimethylmanua. Wow, I swear whoever came up with these names is literally just doing it to mess with us, guys. Alright, this mutation is definitely the stinkiest on this list. People who develop this mutation just literally can't break down certain smells. Their body is incapable, and therefore these smells just sort of come off of their bodies at all times. Sadly, it's not rose petals or apple pie either. Of course, it has to be smells like rotten eggs, garbage, urine. Just absolutely gross smells that will be so overtly pungent that everybody in the room is going to be able to smell it. The worst part is, it doesn't matter how much the person showers or douses themselves in deodorant, they're not going to be able to get rid of this smell. And finally, number 1 on this list is alien hand syndrome. I think that this one is by far the scariest thing on this list, guys. Alien hand syndrome is a mutation where you're literally no longer in control of one of your hands. Your brain can no longer control what your hand does, and it just sort of acts as if it's got a mind on its own. I can't even imagine how scary that would be. Like, imagine you're just driving your car and this alien limb just starts punching you in the sack. That's game over, dude. Like, there's no coming back from that. And this can happen at any age, and usually it comes after a stroke or some other deep trauma. So just kind of cross your fingers that your hand doesn't decide to go haywire on you.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's about disturbing proof of aliens that will shock you to your core. Click the video now to find out more. You won't regret it.